This video is all about Chapter 3, Initiating Projects. Here are our learning objectives. You'll notice that this is the initiation process summary from the book.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Witt, Program Director for ProjectManager.com. Hello fans of ProjectManager.com. Well, have you ever been on a project that was derailed from the beginning? Well, I'm going to give you 6 simple steps where you can start your project out right to finish strong. Step number 1, know your project. This is your project and you need to be the expert. So Google becomes your best friend. Why would you Google? It's for a corporate project. Well, you can Google or research to learn about the topic of your project. Maybe it's new technology, maybe it's new software, maybe it's something new in construction, a green project. Whatever the topic is, you can become the expert and know what's happening in that field. Also, number 2, set a vision. People buy into a vision of a cause. They don't necessarily sign up to do tasks. So if you can set a vision that you can get excited about, others will get excited too. Number 3, create and communicate your project charter. As you know from the initiating phase, the project charter is the main document that is the deliverable of that phase. So it's great to communicate it to all of the team members so everyone knows the scope, the time, the budget of that project. Also, get formal sign-offs. If you found yourself midway through the project and people are asking, who signed off on that? Well, you can show them in the project charter. You did. It solves all kinds of questions later. Also, create your project notebook. I create a project notebook for several reasons. In the literal form, not only online, but offline. So here's a sample, just like a little notebook with the table of contents, information, and I keep it updated. It's critical to keep it updated. Then if someone comes by my desk and asks me or calls me or emails me, I can look it up, because if you've ever gone to find something critical online and maybe your server at work may be down or they're doing maintenance or maybe you're out of the office, well, if you're out of the office, people can drop by your desk, pick this up and look. And you may say, well, my team's global. Well, that's okay. We keep that offline, right, on your server or internet-based. Also, I keep my project notebook on my iPad. I can access information through a Dropbox or a corporate server that I can access online. So I can show people if I'm in a meeting, I can access it on my iPad or online if I'm traveling. And the last simple step, it's really very simple, is to build and nurture critical relationships. Not only with your team, but with your stakeholders. They, after all, are some of the most important assets to get your project done. So I think those are some of the 6 simple steps that you can use to start your project out right in order to finish strong. If you need any tips, tools, or techniques, please visit us at ProjectManager.com.
Project management process groups are used for the following purposes. A good question to ask right now would be, what is a process? Well, a process is a series of actions directed toward a particular result. Here's a description of a process in a process group. You've probably seen this illustration before. These are the 5 steps in project development. Note that each one of them looks like they take the same amount of time, but they really don't. If we take a look at the amount of time spent in each particular area, it might look something like this. The thing to note is that because the execution of the process usually is what gets our main focus and has the most visibility, that's where people think all the time takes place. Actually, the better the planning, the better the execution. Don't forget that monitoring and controlling process. And the closing processes are critical so that you can make the best of the next project. Here's a look at the knowledge areas and mapping. If you take a look at page 8, you'll see the illustration that we're coming from. Look at page 12 and you'll see the same thing. And now here on page 78, we have the knowledge areas in detail. Before we describe too much more of the project methodology, it's important that you have a standardized project methodology. In your industry, you'll have one. Your company will actually have one of the most popular ones. Usually, most companies, when they start out, use the PMBOK because the methodology is just as you saw, a straight 5-step process. But there are other methodologies. There's the Prince 2, Agile, which is used a lot in software development, RUP, which is a very quick way to develop things, and Six Sigma isn't really a development process, it's more of an improvement process. One thing all these methodologies have in common is that the top management buy-in is really critical. Without top management buy-in, most projects will fail. So somewhere in there you're going to have to communicate the importance, the criticality of every single thing that you do in that project. One of those managers will probably step forward and become what you call a champion. In other words, they're the ones that are the key proponent for the project. They sell it to everyone else. How can top managers help a project manager succeed? Well, number one has to do with resources. Number two is approval needs to be timely. Number three is they have to encourage cooperation from people in other parts of the organization and deal with the political issues. That's not the job of the project manager, although you may get involved in it to some degree. That's really the job of your champion, and that's one of the reasons you want one. Hopefully you have a good mentor or coach. You want to develop and enforce organizational standards. In many cases, there are several organizational standards that you need to be aware of. You also need support from the PMO, the Project Management Office. Some best practices to keep in mind. Keep the scope realistic. Remember, the scope is how much we're going to do. Involve the users from the very beginning. That's really, really important. If you can, use off-the-shelf hardware and software. That'll cut down on the cost, the time of development, and the amount of people involved. And a good project manager always follows good project management processes. Now, one of the things that you're going to find out is that in many industries, they request a business case or a work project request form. And what that does is it gives them an outline of what project you really want to do. So let's say that you have a great idea. You're going to write up one of these and submit it to a committee. That committee then is going to look it over, and if yours is selected, then they're going to come back and say, let's have a project charter. And so what they're going to do is use you as a consultant to develop a project charter. The project actually kicks off when your project charter is signed. Once your project charter is signed, you're going to want to plan the most important meeting you've got so far, and that is the kickoff meeting.
Hi, I'm Devin Dean, Content Director here at ProjectManager.com. Today we're talking about kicking off projects, kicking off your new project. I've kicked off probably hundreds of projects in my career, and there's 4 essential items that I think you should know when you're thinking about and getting ready to kick off your project. So first off, really, it's about getting on the same page. Next, it's about learning about your team, so doing one-on-ones. Followed by getting the admin sorted. I know it's terrible drudgery, but you've got to get that sorted. And lastly, having a kickoff event. Now let me talk a little bit about each of these things, and I want you to just listen and understand about the kickoff, because if you get it wrong here, you'll spend half the time as a project leader, project manager, getting the team back together again whilst the project's already kicked off and already underway, which is a lot harder job to do. So first off, it's about getting on the same page. Now there's lots of things that you can do to get your team on the same page. And it's not just your team, it's your stakeholders, your business owners, the ultimate technical users of your system, the IT architecture team. It's about everybody on the same page. So a number of documents can help you with that. First and foremost, your statement of work, which is sort of a commercial description of what you're intending to do, your business case, and your project charter. What I find is actually most effective is to come up with a PowerPoint presentation which covers off the top level points about your project, what the objectives are, what the scope of the team is meant to be doing, roles and responsibilities, your approach, where some of your key risks are, what the schedule is. A PowerPoint presentation is a real effective way of getting everyone together on the same page. And make sure that that team contributes to it. Make sure you workshop getting that PowerPoint presentation together with both the individuals on the team but also your business stakeholders. If you do that, then you actually subtly enlist their support. Having that presentation be the first inaugural event of the project, you actually get them on board. You get them thinking about what could go wrong, what could go right, and most effectively how to work together as a team. So that's actually the first step, is really getting everyone on the same page. Next, as a project leader, you really need to get to know your team, and I like to do one-on-ones with each of the individuals. These can be a quick quarter of an hour, half an hour coffee chat with each of the people on the team to find out not only about what they want to achieve on the project, but personally, what's the impact of the project on their lives? What are they looking to gain in terms of new skills or opportunities? What sort of events will this bring into their life? How are they personally committed to the project? If you don't take the time to do those one-on-ones, you're just going to try and bring everyone on the project with you along the way without actually getting their full buy-in and their commitment. And in the middle of the night, we all know when that system has to go live, you really need people to pull together. By enlisting their support from the start and doing these one-on-ones, you're showing them that you actually care about them as individuals and also about resources on the project. You're making time out of your day to do that, and they're obviously going to try and reciprocate that back to you on the project team. So make sure you do those one-on-ones leading up to the kickoff event. Next, sort the admin. Get your project commercials done, get your budget set up, purchase orders, vendor negotiations, get your timesheeting process set up, your status report, your risk register, your issues register, your change control register, all that collateral that goes into help you effectively control and manage your project. Get that established and set up right from the start. If you don't do it and get it set up right from the start, you're going to end up spending many, many hours at night, on the weekends, playing catch-up, getting everything set up so that it can run smoothly. The last thing that you want to worry about when your project's underway is, oh, have my timesheet system effectively captured everyone's effort on the different tasks so I know what's actually up to date in terms of my status. Lastly, the kickoff event. Now this is kind of a social or could be a team building event depending upon the number of people involved in the project and your budget for kicking off. It can be as simple as going through that PowerPoint presentation that I talked about at the first, or it could be something a little bit more challenging, maybe a mountain bike ride, a fishing trip, maybe some obstacle course as a team, or even a simple lunch can do. But I think it's important to take time out and kick off as a team together. If you kick off as a team together, the people who are the core project team are most likely to continue to gel together as a team. But if you just start the project without an actual event, people are often wondering, have we started, have we not started, when do I record time on my timesheet for the project, when don't I? You really need to have that event to really tie it together and bring it home. So once again, just to cover off the 4 basic steps on really kicking off your project the right way. First off, get everyone on the same page. Next, make sure you have one-on-ones with the individuals and get to know them, so enlist their support and their commitment to the project team. Get your admin sorted. It's drudgery. We all know it, but get it done right away and you won't have to worry about it once the project started. And lastly, have that kickoff event. Make sure there's some sort of event or team building activity where you can bring that team together to actually start working and starting building that culture of that project team. For all the tools you need to kick off your projects, come see us at projectmanager.com.
In summary, here's our initiating process.